Ladies and gentlemen, what can I say? Mr. Stephen King. I said, I think it was Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con, about 2 years ago, where someone asked me if you could have, what is the Holy Grail? What is the one person that you could bring from another medium to work in comic books? Who would that be? And I said, Stephen King. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. And a few months after that, I heard buzz about this thing, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So here we are.
When the chance came up to do the Dark Tower for the comic books, I thought this is the best of all possible worlds. This will look the way that it's supposed to look. And when they brought in Jane Lee and Peter David, I was over the moon. I just was. And I thought, this is as good as it gets, really. And I mean, this is my life's work, in a sense. I mean, it's been there since the time that I was 22 years old, and I finally finished it up somewhere in my 50s. So it's very important to me. I haven't had any problem letting it out of my hands, because the people I'm working with are obviously more than competent. They're brilliant at what they do. So I'm delighted. We talked about what a sort of doorway into this series might be like. When you talk about Roland's young manhood, there's a little bit about it in the first book, and then there's a lot about it in that fourth book, when he sits by the turnpike and tells his friends this story about Magus and Susan Delgado. And it's a real story that picks up on where we leave Roland at the end of the first book. And somebody said there's this hole between where Roland leaves Magus and when he shows up at Jericho Hill, getting away under that pile of dead bodies. Let's do that. And so I'm right down with anything that people come up with for ideas. I'm a total carpetbagger about that. If it works, I'm crazy about it.
No, I think one of the things that's really fascinating for me as well as a long-term reader of the Dark Tower, how did Roland become who he is? Because the Roland we see in Wizard and Glass, when you think about it, he's a young man, there's still an innocence there. And then when we see him, you know, there's something quite ruthless, really, especially in the Gunslinger, you know, before he starts this development. So really one of the things that's neat is you kind of see how he changes.
The seminal moment was when we were in the initial meeting and Stephen came up with the line, "A boy's tests becomes a man's quest." That's when I knew we had it.
I mean, the story tells itself in a sense, and your job is just to stand back and let it be what it is. It's like when you get a great big hunk of granite and you say, I know that there's a guy in there somewhere. If I just hit the right places, he'll come out. So I'm just in awe of what these artists have done. That's all I can say. And I mean, I can see these things in my head, and it's a little bit like touring your own imagination. It's an amazing thing.
Marvel, your universe.